Well, it wasn't last week, it was a couple weeks ago. It's up for everybody who's interested. You can go off and view it at morninginmichigan.com, go under communications and speeches, or you can just go to the Senator Patrick Colbeck YouTube channel, and the whole debate's up there.
Are they listening to you and then Lansing?
Well, let's put it this way, it's been about 4 years right now. I've been making the case we don't need to increase taxes for the roads. And some people are listening because, we haven't increased taxes for the roads yet, but we got to get them over the next part and say, let's put in the solution that doesn't require tax increases to fix our roads. And that relies on a very simple observation that we can build roads that last longer. And so the goal of a sustainable roads plan is that we fix roads faster than they degrade, right? Simple. It's not the goal. The goal some people are looking at in Lansing is throw $1.2 billion more at the roads. Well, that's not necessarily solving it. Matter of fact, I guarantee as soon as we pass $1.2 billion in tax increases, they're going to be back the next day and say, oh, sorry guys, the real number was $2 billion. That's just to keep them from degrading any further. So the key thing is to focus on building roads that last longer. So and you can fix, in order to fix roads faster than they degrade, you simply got to there's two sides of that equation. If you actually get them to degrade slower, then you've got a case which you can do with longer lasting roads. Now you get to the point where you can have a sustainable roads plan with less than $1.2 billion, and that's what I'm pushing for. And I think we got a lot of opportunities around doing that, and I don't know. We're trying to get them to agree on that right now. Having said that, hot off the presses from the chiefs meeting today, the chiefs of staffs from different organizations, they've got a new road plan that's been put out that's offered as a compromise between the governor, the House, and the Senate Majority Leader. And the proposal is to start with the baseline of the new House plan that was proposed, which was essentially a 600 in new taxes, 600 in existing revenue, except that the House plan was focused on $400 million from registration fees. There would have been a 40% increase on everybody's registration fees. The compromise is now a 20% registration fee increase and a 7.3% or a 7.3 cent per gallon increase in the gas tax. And that's what's being proposed. Still $600 million in reprioritization of existing funds. And if you're worried about whenever you see the $600 million in existing funds, where are they going to get the cuts? I hear that a lot. Well, keep in mind that right now, our current budget year is already at $400 million into that $600 million. So you only have a $200 million gap. And I can give you two line items right away on $200 million. One is the Michigan Strategic Fund, sitting at around $179 million. The other is the Budget Stabilization Fund, which is sitting at a balance of around $619 million. They only need $400 million to actually stabilize the budget. And the purpose of that fund is to make sure that when we have a balanced budget requirement. So every year we do a revenue forecast, and the budget has to map to what everybody thinks that consensus revenue is, consensus revenue estimate. But they don't always get it right. So there's this variation of plus or minus 4%. The Budget Stabilization Fund is meant to be a little savings account so that if they're off, then we can still cover our budget requirements for that upcoming year. And so historically, they've been off plus or minus 4%. So if you got a $10 billion general fund, then you should have $400 million in reserve. So anything above $400 million, you can make the case should not be in there if your purpose is to actually stabilize the budget. So that's another $219 million. You could do a blend of the two of them if you wanted to. That's short term. Long term, I mean, you'll see an op-ed that's going to be coming out this week. I call it the government Swiss Army knife, and it's around direct primary care. And it talks about how direct primary care has been proven to cut medical or healthcare costs by 20% and actually provide people with better care. Well, if you take that to look at how much we spend on state employee health care, it's about $700 million a year. 20% of that is about $140 million a year that we could save on health care and actually provide our employees with better care. If you applied it to Medicaid, we spend $17 billion every year on Medicaid. 20% savings on that is $3.4 billion. 40% of that is state revenue. So that it's about $1.4 billion of additional revenue that could be put towards things like roads or other priorities. So long term, there's a huge opportunity with existing funds to actually, without cutting, programs or anything, but actually being more wise with how we actually spend the taxpayers' money to make ends meet. So that's why I'm adamant saying there's no reason to do a tax increase on this at all.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yeah.
Just on your road thing.
Yeah.
I don't understand your plan. I read it, and I'm like, you keep saying we're making the roads stay longer, but our roads are a wreck right now.
Right.
And I think the government has a responsibility to keep our infrastructure up.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know, like when our driveway went, we had to take money and we had to replace it.
Yeah.
There was no way that we could put that driveway in and unless we paid for it.
Right.
So I think the government has let this go for so long.
Yeah.
And now they're in such a wreck, and your plan looks like it takes 10 years before these roads get fixed, from what I looked at your
Oh,
site.
it's any plan that's out
But
here.
the point is, we should be fixing the roads, we should tax ourselves and get our infrastructure in. That's how you make money in this state. If a business is kind of come here and they see these roads here, why would they want to come here? I don't know.
If you went shopping for groceries and found out that everything you wanted to buy was $100 in your grocery basket, but then somebody told you should spend more on it and you don't have to and you could spend $200, would you spend the $200? Of course
I
not.
would, if I had to do something to keep the roads in order.
Yeah.
That is your job as legislators
Yeah.
to figure out how to do that.
Yeah,
And if you
and I have.
wait too long, the roads get so degraded that it costs more and more each time you wait, every year you wait.
Yep.
So I don't.
I agree with everything you said there, except
I don't
you have to
agree with
increase
your plan.
taxes.
I think we should be taxed, for the people who use the roads should be taxed. Put it on our gas tax because we're using the roads, and that's the only way they're gonna get fixed.
Yeah,
So that's my view. People might not agree with that.
okay. I mean, my contention is, we were talking earlier about, the key thing to have a fix for the roads is that you fix them faster than they degrade. All right? So one way to do that is just throw more money at the problem, and I'm not in that mode of operation. I want to find ways, if we actually had roads that lasted longer. Here's the basic deal. Right now, our benchmark in regards to how much we spend on transportation with existing revenue chains is about $3.3 billion a year. There are folks that say in order to maintain our current road system, to keep it from degrading any further. That's not to fix it. That's not to make all these roads, get rid of all the poor quality roads. That's just to keep it from degrading beyond our 37,000 lane miles that are in poor quality condition across the state right now. You have to add another $1.2 billion. So they're saying that essentially, looking at it from engineer life cycle or engineer operations and maintenance cost perspective, it's a $4.5 billion road system that we have to maintain right now.